Good evening, everybody. This boat is titled Why You Get a Pre-Purchase Inspection. This gentleman brought me this boat, just bought it. His run it, he said 1.5 or 2.5 times he's been able to use it. Complaint, it was running along in the water. It slowly slowed down, then died. Couldn't get it to start. Didn't have a pre-purchase inspection. Please notice the VRO pump. Yes, it's been disconnected. Okay. And they decided not to use a crankshaft or crankcase vacuum pressure driven mechanical fuel pump that is available for replacement. Instead, a relative genius individual decided to put in a fuel pump that's completely incapable of driving this motor. Okay. We went to unhook it, and that's the condition of the wiring going to the pump. They didn't put a fuel pressure regulator on it, so at idle or when the engine was not running and key was on, it would actually flood the carburetors and fill the engine completely full of fuel. We went ahead and did a compression test. It's got 120 pounds on all cylinders, but one has 100. I don't see any damage to the piston. I believe it's just stuck piston rings. Okay, I'm going to go through and show the things that need to be taken care of and the cost by not having a pre-purchase inspection this gentleman wasn't expecting to have to deal with. First, as you imagine, this pump will not fly. In this boat, it's not ignition protected rating, okay? It's completely inadequate. This motor needs literally a wide open throttle. It can probably drink a half a gallon per minute. Just to point this out, these are $6 automotive, automatically resetting circuit breakers. These are in your boat, get rid of them. They will leave you stranded. These control all of his electronics and bilge pump. Every accessory on the boat other than the engine goes through those. They will fail. Guaranteed. They will fail. You lose your bilge pump when you have an engine that's not running right 20 miles out in the Gulf, and that's a good way to make an insurance claim on a boat. Okay, just some of the things that we notice here. Okay, 18 volts on the gauge. His tachometer doesn't work. Nice job mounting on the tach. But let me go ahead and move this to wide open throttle, and that's wide open throttle. And if you look inside of his carburetors, they're not even half open at that, okay? So all of those linkages are completely out of adjustment. When we come down here, this is his throttle cable right here. It is completely broken, twisted, distorted. He needs new cables. Okay. Like I said, none of these linkages are correct. If you look at the gaps on these bowls, it's very tight at the screw holes, and the gap gets bigger in between them. That's been caused by overheating, warpage, and distortion. These bowls will straight have to be replaced. You can't fix that. Some people may say, well, you can have the bowl, take it to a sander, and that'll fix the problem by flattening the surface, but some of these are sealed with O-rings. You can actually see right here, I can move the gasket with my finger and cover the gap above it. That's a completely open gap. You can see the fuel that just drips right out. That's nothing compared to what we just found a few minutes ago. Oh, also notice this. Someone has cranked on this engine, had it in a start position for so long, it has actually melted this rubber sheathing over his main starter wire, and this starter wire itself is actually melted and gooey. Look at that. Wow. I think that may be a problem. That'll reduce your engine cranking speed, and on these motors, it will not allow enough voltage to be developed by the stator to actually fire the ignition, hence the no-start situation. It had the wrong spark plugs in it, too. Let me grab a flashlight here. The real reason for me showing or making this video is I'm going to hit the start button in my hand, and what I'm pointing the flashlight at here is the timer base. And you're going to see it move. It should not move. Watch this. See it actually vibrating front to back? Well, there's a reason for that. His motor is literally coming apart. See the mounting bolt there? It's not even screwed in all the way. Loose 5 turns. That's loose. That bolt is completely missing. There's supposed to be a bolt there. It's missing. That bolt is there. You can see how loose the plate is. It's actually separate, which is creating a horrific vacuum leak. Okay, let alone God knows what has happened to that top main bearing. If you look up in his stator, it's very, very rusty. Okay, we don't see any burned wires. Okay, it shows that we do have good spark, and yet even with ether or starting fluid, this engine will not fire. Probably due to that vacuum leak. So we're going to proceed and continue on this and look for what else we find. But so far, he needs a new fuel pump. He needs new cables. The top end of his motor's unbolted and falling apart. He needs a starter wire. The carburetors have to be rebuilt. He needs new carburetor bases. We already replaced his spark plugs with correct spark plugs. Okay, and that is just a start. Okay, the carburetors alone, that's an hour per carb. Okay, 6 hours of labor right there. Parts, $20 to $50 per carburetor. The real issue is we've got to get up here and find out what someone has done. The sealant up here is not OEM, it's not factory. Okay, we need to find out what somebody did to this poor motor. Buyers, beware. $150 to $200 for a pre-purchase inspection can save you thousands, and you can actually have a boat that runs. Have a nice day, folks.